So we're again the first brand responsibility engine. We call ourselves a NOBL, and the idea here really is not necessarily about brand safety, although that's a component, but it's about brand responsibility. What's advertising responsibility? Well, that means spending your dollars responsibly, and it means being more careful and conscious about where your dollars are going, because this isn't just about keeping your brand off a specific site. It's about looking at it holistically. What are we supporting as a brand? What do we believe in? We can't read every page on the internet, so what's the best way forward? So far, this has been kind of a complicated task. If we go to the next slide, you can kind of see that it's become a maze. It's become an issue. There's so many different options to deal with this issue. There are hundreds of different companies and solutions trying to solve 1,000 different problems. And so advertisers have had to fall back on exactly what they have now, which are great tools. They just sometimes take a different approach than and more of a blunt tool approach to the issue. And you can kind of see that with the current slate of solutions
in place. There's a question from Bruce here about how NOBL's algorithm discerns misinformation and false information presented as fact versus actual fact. How do you prevent bias within the algorithm? You kind of talked about the bias within the individuals and kind of how you pull that together, but maybe touch on that as well, and how you think about that and are proactive.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are not doing fact checks, right? So if there's an article that's written and it has a number 10,000 that should be 1,000, we will not catch something like that. Absolutely. If a factual statement is just not correct, we will not be able to catch that. However, what we have found is that when you are writing something that's very agenda driven, in other words, you're trying to promote a specific theory or a specific type of information, most of the time you end up with differences in the language and how that article is actually written. And this could be either the sentiment, the amount of agenda-driven language and opinion in there. It could be a lot of different things that are kind of built into our algorithm. So like I mentioned, Elizabeth Earle, she actually has gone through many, many examples of kind of misinformation versus true kind of factual reporting, and found very subtle differences in the types of language that's used. And it could be something as simple as the number of adverbs to verbs ratio. Things like that actually make a big difference in terms of determining whether this is really strictly kind of a conspiracy theory or a kind of agenda driven reporting, as opposed to something that's just a fact reporting on the facts.